I refuse to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their gilt rings. Right, the bouncer's gilt rings.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day.
This is Umar Ahmed for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. Very late at the Copper Box. Extremely disappointing night for Joe Joyce, but ultimately the right decision from the doctor given the state of his eye.
Absolutely. For me anyway, look, I just think it was closing up from a couple of rounds before that, and I think the fans, baying for blood will probably know, well, he hasn't gone down or anything, he can still go. But if you know Joe Joyce, or if you're in any way close to Joe Joyce, you'll probably be like, thanks for saving him a little bit in there. I mean, that could be permanent damage to the eye. So yeah, look, it was the right decision with the eye. I think maybe he just came in a little bit light. I'm not used to seeing the juggernaut with abs. Maybe if he came in at the weight that Joe Parker, in the Joe Parker fight, it could have gone a different way. I think the southpaw element helped Zhang a lot as well. And yeah, disappointing, but happy for Zhang. He's been brilliant all week.
We know there's a rematch clause. In your opinion, should Joe Joyce activate that straight away?
Should he take it? Look, it's a good question. It's going to be a decision for him. He's such a fighter. He just takes this risky fight with a 6'6" southpaw who could bang. It's not normally something you do, right? So I don't know. If he wants his interim title back, he would have to take the rematch. But there might be other routes for him. I don't know. It's going to be a decision for him. I think even in the BT interview, he said what about Dubois or something like that? I'll have to speak to him.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, because he said something about his eye going like Dubois' eye going. So he sort of low-key had a dig at Dubois at the end of a fight with Zhang. So, yeah.
Dubois got his business at the moment with Usyk, so Cook has just shown me who he's got. Okay, all good. I mean, where does this leave Joe, though? If he doesn't take the rematch,
yeah, exactly.
Where does he go?
That's the thing. So that's why Queensberry obviously get the rematch clause, and that's why you try to soften the risk a little bit by doing that. If he wants to become the interim champion and become mandatory again, his next fight probably has to be Zhang. But I don't know. He couldn't seem to get out of the way of that backhand. I don't know how much I need to see him take that backhand anymore from the southpaw stance. It was a tough watch at times.
A little bit surprised about how he approached the fight because he was a stone lighter. We thought the way he dealt with Daniel Dubois, avoiding a lot of shots and punishment, he would have approached it the same. He didn't really seem to, though. He was just walking forward.
He approached it with the Dubois weight, but boxing the Parker fight, and it just shouldn't have been that. He should have, if he's going to box at that weight, box him like you did against Daniel Dubois. But he didn't. I think he relied on himself to activate juggernaut mode, withstand the first 4 or 5 rounds, but his chin never broke down. He never, went down or anything like that. But his skin did. His face let him down at the end of the day. And you can have the best chin in the world. That's still skin, and that's still going to swell up. So, yeah.
Lastly, there was a lot of talk about Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk, Anthony Joshua throughout the week. I'm not saying Joe would have been overlooking Zhang, but when people like us got asking so many questions and mentioning those names, maybe mentally he wasn't all there tonight. I'm not making excuses for him. I'm just wondering.
I don't know, because that kind of happens with every fight, doesn't it? I think obviously people were overlooking Zhang going into this. People who know boxing understood what level of threat Zhilei Zhang brought, but the sort of wider media want to only associate him with Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, etc. And he'll obviously oblige them and he'll talk about them in interviews. Did it distract him? I think this sort of thing happens with every fight. I think every heavyweight has to deal with that sort of thing. So I wouldn't read too much into that. I think the key reasons that he lost the fight was he was too light and he couldn't adjust to the southpaw stance and just didn't box the right fight.
Dev, appreciate your thoughts straight after the fight, and we'll speak soon, hopefully, Tom.
He'll be back, by the way. Big Juggernaut will be back, and I'm very intrigued as to what does happen next. And full credit, Zhilei Zhang. He's been an absolute star all week. Didn't have to go for a Chinese with Johnny Fisher's dad. Went for a Chinese. Didn't have to say chat shit, get zanged. Said chat shit, get zanged. After about 40 takes. But we got there. We got there, Umar.
Fantastic performance from Zhang tonight. Yeah, Dev, thank you for your time.
Because I refuse to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their gilt rings. Right, the bouncer's gulping.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day,